Today, we'll debate, is equal access to justice attainable? With Eleanor, an idealistic social justice advocate, and Patrick, a skeptical realist. They're two artificial intelligence personas. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Eleanor, and I'm deeply committed to the pursuit of social justice and equity in our legal system. Growing up in a diverse urban environment and through my education in sociology and law, I saw firsthand the systemic barriers that prevent many from accessing justice. I work with a nonprofit organization championing the cause of marginalized communities, advocating for comprehensive reforms to ensure that justice is not a privilege, but a right accessible to all. I passionately believe that through a combination of policy changes, increased funding for legal services, and embracing technological innovation, we can dismantle these barriers. Our focus should be on community-based legal services, restorative justice models, and revising laws that disproportionately impact underrepresented groups. As we move forward, I urge us to be bold and imaginative, seeing justice not as a static concept, but as a dynamic pursuit of equality and impartiality. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm Patrick, and I come from a rural background which provided me with a unique perspective on the challenges inherent in our legal system. As a corporate attorney who's navigated through various legal environments, I've developed a pragmatic approach to justice. While I absolutely agree that our system needs reform, I'm skeptical about the attainability of true equal access to justice. There are entrenched economic disparities, cultural differences, and vested interests that make this a complex issue. My experiences have taught me that while systemic change is appealing, we must temper our expectations with realism. I advocate for a more efficient allocation of resources and see potential in public-private partnerships to help bridge some gaps. While inequality is unfortunate, it's a persistent aspect of our society, and efforts should focus on making improvements within that reality. Incremental changes, rather than sweeping reforms, are more sustainable and practical. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Eleanor and Patrick will now present their 3 rounds of arguments.
Thank you, Patrick, for sharing your perspective. I understand where you're coming from, given your background and experiences. Your insights into the realities of the legal system highlight important challenges we must address. However, I firmly believe that acknowledging these obstacles isn't a reason to shy away from pursuing greater equity. While economic disparities and cultural differences do create barriers, they also signify areas ripe for innovation and reform. Incremental changes have their place, but we shouldn't underestimate the transformative power of comprehensive policy reforms and technology. Take, for example, rural communities like the ones you're familiar with. By leveraging technology, we can offer virtual legal clinics and mobile aid services to bridge geographic barriers. Public-private partnerships can be instrumental here, as they can provide crucial resources and infrastructure to support these initiatives. Through dedicated efforts in policy development and technological advancement, we can drive significant progress in making justice more accessible to all, including in rural and underserved regions. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor, for your thoughtful perspective. I appreciate your dedication and the passion you bring to the cause of social justice. However, I have reservations about the feasibility of achieving true equal access to justice, especially at the scale and speed you propose. Economic disparities and entrenched interests create formidable barriers that are not easily dismantled by policy changes alone. Even with increased funding and technological innovations, we face the challenge of deeply rooted systemic issues that resist quick fixes. Moreover, in striving for such comprehensive reforms, there is a risk of overextending our resources and creating unintended consequences. For example, while technology can indeed improve access in some areas, it may inadvertently widen the divide in others, especially for those without digital literacy or access to robust internet services. It's essential to approach these challenges with a healthy dose of realism, focusing on targeted, sustainable improvements that don't promise more than they can deliver. We need to be mindful of limitations and ensure that our efforts are effective and efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for raising some valid concerns. I understand the need for prudence in approaching systemic reform, and I agree that we must consider the potential for unintended consequences. However, I believe that rather than overextending, we should be looking at strategic investments that lay the groundwork for long-term change. For instance, though technology can initially widen some divides, we should focus on inclusive solutions, such as expanding digital literacy programs and ensuring affordable internet access as part of our approach. These are not overnight solutions, but they create a foundation for sustained progress. While deeply rooted systemic issues are challenging, they also present opportunities for innovation and collaboration. By engaging community leaders, local governments, and private sector partners, we can develop tailored solutions that address the unique needs of different communities. Public-private partnerships you mention are crucial and can serve as a bridge between aspiration and pragmatic action. Driving substantial reform requires us to take calculated risks and think creatively. Even if the ultimate goal of complete equality seems daunting, every stride we make toward it brings tangible benefits to those who need it most. We must not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor, for your thoughtful responses and your emphasis on strategic investment. I appreciate your perspective on balancing aspirations with practical steps. However, I remain cautious about the risks of overpromising outcomes in our pursuit of justice reform. The complexity of economic and cultural barriers means that our solutions must be realistically aligned with available resources. For instance, while expanding digital literacy and affordable internet access are laudable goals, they require significant infrastructure investments and coordination that may not be feasible in the short term for many areas, particularly in struggling rural regions. We should ensure that our initial efforts target the most pressing needs without spreading resources too thin or creating dependencies on future funding. Furthermore, while collaboration with community leaders and private partners is indeed valuable, we must recognize that aligning these diverse stakeholders can be time-consuming and complex. It's crucial to have a clear understanding of the limitations and opportunities within each unique context to maximize the impact of our efforts. Ultimately, significant gains are possible through measured, realistic approaches that acknowledge the constraints we face. This ensures that progress, while perhaps slower, is sustainable and durable. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for your insights. And don't worry, I'm not here to promise unicorns and rainbows. We both know neither belongs in the legal system, no matter how colorful the idea might be. You raised important points about realistic resource allocation, but I think we can agree that the impossible often just takes a little longer, or sometimes just a lot more coffee. The scale of investments needed for digital literacy and infrastructure is indeed large, but isn't that why we have engineers and coffee chains thriving globally? Jokes aside, incremental changes, like integrating tech slowly while improving infrastructure incrementally, create steady progress. Consider this. If we wait for the perfect conditions, we might find ourselves holding lengthy debates in a perpetual holding pattern. You're right that collaboration takes time, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a fair justice system. By kicking off collaborations now, we secure the future benefits even if they take some time to materialize. Patience is a virtue here. Impatience just makes for extra long traffic lights, and frustratingly long queues at the coffee machine. In summary, let's dream big but plan pragmatically. By taking assertive strides and nurturing partnerships, we can achieve meaningful gains. Let's aim for caffeine-induced progress, not perfection. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor, for keeping this lively. Your zest keeps this debate as energizing as a double espresso. You're absolutely right that dreaming big is important. However, while you're out there brewing up those big dreams, let's make sure we avoid a caffeine crash by grounding our plans in reality. You mentioned that our engineers and coffee chains are thriving, but unlike coffee, a quick fix can't be brewed when it comes to systemic issues. We have to keep in mind that engineers and planners are more about careful calculations than spontaneous sips of solutions. Just as much as we love a strong cup, we love a plan that won't spill over. And about Rome, true, it wasn't built in a day, or even before the next coffee break, but they didn't start building every monument at once, either. A strategic blueprint is what we need, where each step is as measured as the perfect shot of espresso. To sum up, while bold visions are inspiring, our approach needs to be as consistent as the morning grind, steady and deliberate. Let's aim to wake up our justice system with a plan that hits the spot without over-caffeinating our expectations. Thank you.
Thank you for your speeches. Someone from the audience will now make a question to Eleanor and Patrick.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I work in community development. I've been really engaged by your debate, and you both bring compelling perspectives to the table. My question is for Eleanor. While we've discussed a lot about systemic reform and technological advancements, how do you propose addressing the cultural and societal attitudes within communities that may also act as barriers to accessing justice? These attitudes can often be deeply ingrained and might resist even the most well-intentioned legal reforms. Thanks.
Thank you for your question, Alex. It's a great one. Cultural and societal attitudes are indeed crucial factors when it comes to reforming our justice system, and they don't always shift as easily as legal policies might. The key to addressing these barriers lies in community engagement and education. First and foremost, it's essential to have a dialogue with communities to understand their unique perspectives and concerns. By working alongside community leaders and influencers, we can foster trust and tailor our approaches to be culturally sensitive and relevant. This can involve education campaigns highlighting the benefits of accessing justice and promoting stories of individuals who have navigated the legal system successfully. Moreover, integrating cultural competency training for legal professionals can make the justice system more approachable and relatable to diverse communities. When people see their cultures and concerns reflected and respected, they're more likely to engage with legal resources. It's a gradual process, but with consistent efforts and genuine community partnerships, we can work toward reshaping attitudes and creating an environment where accessing justice is embraced and valued by everyone. Thank you.
Certainly, I have a question for Patrick. We've heard a lot about resource allocation and efficient use of existing systems, but I'm curious about your thoughts on the role of education in shaping individuals' understanding and engagement with the justice system. How do you propose we incorporate educational initiatives to empower individuals to better navigate legal processes and advocate for themselves within the constraints you mentioned? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Alex. Education is indeed a pivotal piece in the puzzle of justice accessibility. While we focus on efficient resource allocation and managing systemic constraints, empowering individuals through education can mitigate some of these barriers from the ground up. One approach could be to integrate basic legal education into school curriculums, perhaps in high school, to impart an understanding of fundamental rights and the workings of the justice system. This foundational knowledge can demystify legal processes and empower students as they transition into adulthood. Additionally, we could collaborate with local organizations to provide community workshops or seminars. These could be geared toward common legal issues individuals might face, such as tenant rights or consumer protection laws. By making legal knowledge more accessible and directly applicable to everyday situations, we encourage people to engage more proactively with the justice system. The goal is to create a culture where individuals feel informed and confident enough to advocate for themselves, which, in the long run, can lead to more equitable outcomes without requiring massive resource shifts within the system. Thank you.
The debaters now have a minute to talk about something they regret not bringing up to the discussion.
Looking back, I regret not bringing up the age-old debate of coffee versus tea in relation to legal reform. Who knows how the justice system might benefit if we infused it with a bit of herbal zen instead of just caffeine-fueled zeal? As for a less than stellar argument from Patrick, well, when he brought up the idea that too many resources might not deliver big changes, it felt a bit like suggesting you might drown if you drink too much water. In reality, we know both water and resources are lifesavers, it's just a matter of channeling them properly. But jokes aside, I appreciate Patrick's perspective. Healthy debates like these ultimately keep us striving toward better solutions. Thanks for indulging the banter.
Well, in hindsight, I regret not discussing the importance of snack allocation during justice reform meetings. After all, without a well-fed team, you're bound to have a hunger-driven justice crisis on your hands. Revolutionize the justice system, yes, but remember the revolution runs smoother with donuts. Now, about Eleanor's suggestions, when she proposed using technology as a silver bullet for overcoming systemic barriers, it did make me chuckle a bit. Kind of like suggesting, just add Wi-Fi to a stone wall to get an instant information superhighway. We all love a good boost from tech, but it can't single-handedly propel us over every hurdle, especially those non-digital ones. Still, I appreciate the dialogue. It keeps us all on our toes, snack debates and all. Thanks for keeping it fun, Eleanor.
Thank you, folks. Let's go over to our judges.
Eleanor scores 1. Clarity and articulation, 9 out of 10. Eleanor presented her points clearly and passionately, using well-structured arguments that were easy to follow. Her passion for social justice and innovative ideas came through strongly, which engaged the audience effectively. 2. Use of evidence and examples, 8 out of 10. While Eleanor frequently referred to systemic reform and technological solutions, providing specific examples of successful implementations or case studies could have strengthened her arguments. Nevertheless, she laid a solid foundation for her vision of progress through technology and community engagement. 3. Rebuttal effectiveness, 7 out of 10. Eleanor effectively countered Patrick's skepticism with humor and a focus on the broader benefits of reform. However, some rebuttal opportunities, like addressing the practical implementation of tech solutions in detailed terms, were less fully developed. Her humor added a nice touch, maintaining the debate's engaging tone. Patrick scores 1. Realism and practicality, 9 out of 10. Patrick excelled in grounding his arguments in practicality, highlighting the limitations of resources and existing barriers. His focus on achievable solutions was well-reasoned, though at times it bordered on overly cautious. 2. Engagement with the opponent's ideas, 8 out of 10. Patrick effectively acknowledged Eleanor's points, engaging with her ideas while maintaining his standpoint. His humorous jabs showcased an ability to critique while keeping the discussion lighthearted, though further addressing specific reform proposals could have added depth. 3. Diversification of argumentation, 7 out of 10. Patrick presented a consistent theme centered on resource allocation and realism. While this focus was a strength, introducing a wider range of supporting arguments or solutions could have enhanced his presentation. His points remained solid but could have benefited from more varied examples.
What are your opinions about the debate? What would you like to see AI's debate next? Keep questioning.